I'm Clifford Thurlow. I'm a writer, and I have a new book that's just out right now, and it's called We Shall Pass. And this is a novel. It's set during the Spanish Civil War, but it's about the British volunteers who gave up their lives to go to Spain to fight fascism in 1936. So Robbie Gillen is an unemployed dock worker from Glasgow, and with his best friend Jimmy McGee, they go on a hunger march to London. The hunger marchers, by the time they reach London, have reached almost 100,000 men, and a delegation, including the Scotsman, marched down the Mall to give a petition to the Prime Minister. As they're marching down the Mall, they are met by policemen on horseback who charge the miners, and there's a great fracas. Robbie Gillen is injured, and his best friend Jimmy disappears. He searches among the crowd. Many people are badly hurt, and Robbie is directed by a policeman. If there are any serious injuries, they have been taken to St Stephen's Hospital in the Fulham Road. And so Robbie goes to St Stephen's and discovers that anyone who is dead would be in the morgue, and he is taken down the stairs by a young nurse who we learn is named Alice Sheridan. When they go into the morgue, they find that it is Jimmy McGee there on a slab of marble. He is told not to touch anything, but Jimmy's head is half torn away from the hoof of a horse, and Robbie takes off his own cap to put it over Jimmy's head. The mortician is angry about this and shouts at him and pulls the hat off, and it creates a kind of fracas between the mortician and Robbie Gillen. They fight, he knocks the mortician down, and the man gets up and calls for the police who are upstairs in the hospital. And Alice Sheridan leads him away from the area where he will be discovered, through the underground corridors, then up a flight of stairs to a door at the back of the hospital. And he's going to leave, but pauses for a second, and she says, "Where will you go? What will you do?" Well, during the march, he's been reading about the Spanish Civil War and how there's a call for volunteers. And he tells her, if I had the money to get the boat to France, I would then go to Spain and volunteer in the International Brigade. And Alice opens her purse and gives him £5. This, in today's money, would be like £500 or £800. It's a huge sum of money, enough to get to Spain. And he says, I can't take this. I can't take this. And she says, I didn't work for it. Take it. And he goes to leave and turns back and kisses her on the cheek and runs off. And he escapes, and he manages to get to Spain. Alice has a twin brother named Simon. And Simon, who's at Oxford, has decided that he's going to give up his studies and go to Spain and fight in the Spanish Civil War as well. He argues with his father, and he leaves on the boat train that night to go to Spain. The volunteers are assembling in Paris, and Robbie Gillen and Simon Sheridan meet in Paris and make that journey together. These two men are the opposites in every way. One is an unemployed, working class Scotsman from Glasgow. The other is the son of an aristocratic family who went to Eton and Oxford. And those two men, as opposites, tell the two sides of who the British volunteers were during the Spanish Civil War and what had made them give up their lives to go and fight for the Republican cause, ostensibly against fascism. I hope people will read and come away with a really good story, a love story, but like War and Peace, set against the backdrop of horrific military action. Well, first of all, when you're writing a book like this, you want to get the historic facts right. And so I read every book on the Spanish Civil War that I could get my hands on. After Orwell, there are many more. And also reading books in Spanish translation that give the side of what's happening from their own Spanish point of view. With research, there is always a danger of doing too much research, having too many facts, having too much information, and then getting bogged down with that. So my way of doing research is basically to read the books, to read the articles, and not take notes, except for actual facts and dates, but to keep the awareness in my mind, and so that when I come to write, I'm writing in my own words, using my own phrases and using my own inner feelings to express what's happening, because it's the feelings of the characters that carry the story. And so it's important that I inject their feelings from my point of view, not from a massive array of viewpoints. I think this book is so important today because the parallels that we are seeing with the rise of the right now all across Europe, including the United Kingdom, those changes are so similar to the changes that were happening almost exactly 100 years ago in Europe, with the rise of the Nazi Party, with the rise of fascism in Italy, the rise of nationalism in Spain. Those things that led to the Spanish Civil War, the fact that other European democracies in the United States did not support Spain, it led almost immediately at the end of the Spanish Civil War in 1939 to the outbreak of the Second World War. During the Spanish Civil War, both Italy and particularly Germany had the opportunity to practice bombing raids, attack formations, and to try out their new weapons. We have most famously, of course, Guernica, the great painting by Picasso of the bombing raid on a little town in the Basque Country called Guernica, which killed 1,700 people and flattened an entire town. Out of interest, as an aside, when Picasso painted that huge painting, really wide, as bigger than a room, it was shown at the pavilion of the Spanish legation at the World Fair in Paris in 1937, and a German officer came in and looked at the painting and turned to Picasso and said, "Did you do this?" Picasso said, "No, you did." That was the beginning of fascism, then led to the war, the Holocaust, many millions of people dead. And we're seeing so many similarities today with what's happening across Europe and the United States. And I hope my book captures those warning signals. It's a warning from the past of what can happen.